The rain hammered down like fury as Chioma stood in the hallway, her baby cold against her chest, cast out by the husband who just discovered her buried past. But what she didn't know was that the man who would find her at dawn had been searching for her for 7 years, and her destiny was about to arrive in the most unexpected way. Welcome to Kaysmart Mythic Tales, where we bring you the most gripping African family dramas that will leave you breathless. Thank you for your incredible support. You are the reason we keep bringing these powerful stories to life. Before we dive into the story, kindly subscribe, drop a comment below and tell us where you are watching from. Now let's get into this explosive story. The rain hammered against the windows like fists demanding entry. Inside the luxurious 5th-floor apartment in Victoria Island, Lagos, Chioma Okafor stood frozen in her nightgown, her 3-month-old daughter Amara wailing in her arms. Her husband Emeka, tall, handsome, successful Emeka, stood before her with a face twisted by rage she'd never seen before. "Get out," he hissed, his voice colder than the storm outside. "Get out of my house, you lying witch." "Emeka, please," Chioma's voice cracked. "It's pouring outside." "The baby." "I said get out." He grabbed her arm, his fingers digging into her flesh. "You think I wouldn't find out? You think you could hide who you really are?" In his other hand, he clutched his phone, the screen glowing with an old photo. A photo Chioma had prayed would stay buried forever. A younger version of herself, standing outside a brothel in Onitsha. The caption beneath it read, "A Shawo girl now playing madam in Lagos. Somebody tell Emeka Okafor his wife used to sell herself for 5,000 naira." The post had gone viral. 3,000 shares. 7,000 comments. Her past, exposed to all of Lagos in a single evening. "I can explain," Chioma sobbed, clutching Amara tighter as the baby's cries intensified. "Explain what?" Emeka's mother, Mama Ngozi, emerged from the guest room, her wrapper tied high with righteous indignation. "Explain how you deceived my son? How you trapped him with pregnancy? How you brought shame to the Okafor name? I left that life." Chioma screamed, her voice raw. "I left it 6 years ago. I changed. I went to school. Once a Shawo, always a Shawo," Mama Ngozi spat. "You contaminated this family. That child probably isn't even his." Emeka flinched. His eyes darted to the crying baby, then back to Chioma. Doubt flickered across his face. Doubt planted by his mother's poison. "The DNA test," Mama Ngozi pressed. "We do it tomorrow. But tonight she leaves." "Emeka, please," Chioma begged, rain now audible even through the thick walls. "Don't do this. I love you. I've been a good wife. A good wife." He laughed bitterly. "A good wife doesn't hide that she was a prostitute. Do you know what my business partners are saying? My church members? The women at my mother's prayer group." He grabbed a small overnight bag and thrust it at her. "You've destroyed everything. My reputation, my family's honor. Everything. But the baby, it's your daughter. Take your bastard and go." Mama Ngozi shrieked. "Before I call the police and tell them you're a fraud." Chioma's legs buckled. She'd known this day might come. 7 years ago, when she'd escaped the brothel in Onitsha, when she'd changed her name from Adiz to Chioma, when she'd worked 3 jobs while studying at night school, she'd known the past could find her. But she'd hoped. God, how she'd hoped. Emeka opened the apartment door. The sound of the storm rushed in, wind, rain, thunder that shook the building. The hallway lights flickered. "Emeka, it's not safe," Chioma tried once more. He grabbed her arm and pushed her toward the door. "You should have thought about safety before you lied to me. At least let me take her baby clothes, her bottles." "Take what you're wearing," Mama Ngozi said coldly. "Everything in this house was bought with Okafor money. You deserve nothing." Chioma stumbled into the hallway, Amara screaming against her chest. She turned back one last time. Emeka stood in the doorway, his mother behind him, both their faces hard as stone. "I'll prove she's yours," Chioma whispered. "I'll prove everything." "Don't come back," Emeka said. And then he slammed the door. The sound echoed through the empty hallway like a gunshot. Chioma stood there for a moment, soaked nightgown clinging to her body, baby crying, mind racing. The elevator was broken. It had been for 3 days. She'd have to take the stairs. 5 floors down. In the storm. With a 3-month-old. She wrapped Amara inside her nightgown, trying to shield her from the cold. Then she began to descend. By the third floor, her legs were shaking. By the second floor, water was dripping from her hair into Amara's face. By the ground floor, she could barely see through her tears. The lobby security guard, Colonel, looked up from his phone with wide eyes. "Madam Chioma? What'll happen? Please," she gasped. "Do you have an umbrella? Anything?" He fumbled behind his desk and produced a torn black umbrella with 2 broken ribs. "Not only this I get. But madam, where you day go for this kind rain? You fit stay for the lobby small." "No." Chioma shook her head. If she stopped moving, she'd collapse. "Thank you, Colonel." She pushed through the glass doors into the storm. The rain hit her like a physical blow. Within seconds, she was drenched. The broken umbrella provided almost no protection. She held Amara against her chest with both arms, the umbrella forgotten and flying away in the wind. She had no phone. Emeka had bought it. No money. Her ATM card was in her purse, which was still in the apartment. No family. Her parents had disowned her when she'd run away to Onitsha at 16. No friends. She'd lost them all when she'd left her old life behind. She was alone. Thunder cracked overhead, and Amara's cries reached a fever pitch. Chioma stumbled forward, not knowing where she was going, just knowing she had to move. The streets of Victoria Island were deserted. No taxis. No Okadas. Nothing. She walked for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes. Her feet were bleeding. Her nightgown was transparent with rain. Amara had gone quiet. Too quiet. "Please, baby," Chioma whispered. "Stay with me. Stay warm. We'll find somewhere. We'll." Her foot caught on the broken pavement, and she fell. She twisted her body at the last second, taking the impact on her shoulder to protect Amara. Pain exploded through her arm. She lay there on the wet ground, rain pounding her back, and for the first time since she was 16 years old, Chioma Okafor wished she were dead. But then Amara whimpered. That tiny sound, that fragile proof of life, gave Chioma the strength to push herself up. She had to keep moving. For her daughter. Her innocent daughter who didn't deserve any of this. She staggered to her feet and saw lights ahead. A church. St. Michael's Catholic Church, its compound lights still on despite the late hour. The gate was locked, but there was a small overhang near the entrance, a sliver of shelter. Chioma dragged herself to it and collapsed against the wall, cradling Amara beneath her body. The baby was cold. Too cold. "I'm sorry," Chioma sobbed. "I'm so sorry, my love. Mommy tried. Mommy tried to be better, to give you a good life, but..." She couldn't finish. The words dissolved into sobs that shook her entire body. And there, under that tiny overhang, as the storm raged and Lagos slept, Chioma Okafor prayed. Not the prayers she'd learned in Emeka's charismatic church, with their prosperity gospel and victory declarations, but the desperate prayer of a broken woman. "God," she whispered. "If you're real, if you see me, please. Not for me. For her. She's innocent. Please." The storm answered with thunder. Chioma closed her eyes. She didn't know that across Lagos, in a mansion in Lekki Phase 1, a man named Chief Okonkwo was having trouble sleeping. She didn't know that he would take his morning drive route past St. Michael's Church tomorrow. She didn't know that her destiny was indeed coming. All she knew was the cold, the rain, and the fading warmth of her daughter's tiny body against hers. What would you do if your past was exposed in front of everyone? Hit like if you've ever been judged unfairly, and comment where you're watching from. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving Lagos washed clean and smelling of wet earth. Father Tabena arrived at St. Michael's Church at 5:47 a.m., as he did every morning, to prepare for the 6:30 Mass. He was humming a hymn when he noticed the bundle near the gate. At first, he thought it was refuse. Bags of trash sometimes appeared overnight despite the church's locked gates. But then the bundle moved. Jesus Christ! He dropped his Bible and ran forward. Chioma was barely conscious, her lips blue, her body shivering violently. Amara lay against her chest, wrapped in the soaked nightgown, her tiny face gray. "Sister! Sister, can you hear me?" Father Tabena knelt beside them, his hands hovering, unsure where to touch. "Security! Security!" The church gateman, An older Igbo man named Matsi Okoro came running with his keys jangling. "Father Wetton." He stopped short. "Chinik. That one don't die." "She's alive. Call an ambulance." "No, my car is faster." "Help me carry her." Together, they lifted Chioma. She was impossibly light, as if the storm had drained even her weight. Her eyes fluttered open briefly. "Baby," she whispered. "Save, baby." "We're taking you both to the hospital," Father Tabena assured her. "You're safe now." "You're." A convoy of 3 black SUVs pulled up to the church gate. The kind of vehicles that announce serious money and power. The lead car's door opened, and a man in his early 60s stepped out, tall, distinguished, wearing an igbada despite the early hour. His presence commanded immediate attention. "Father Tabena," the man said, his voice deep and cultured. "I saw from the road. What happened here?" "Chief Okonkwo." Father Tabena straightened with respect. Chief Adewale Okonkwo was the church's largest benefactor, a man whose wealth and influence stretched across West Africa. "This woman and her baby, they need immediate medical attention." Chief Okonkwo strode forward, his security detail following. He looked down at Chioma's face, and something flickered across his features, something Father Tabena couldn't quite read. "How long has she been here?" the chief asked quietly. "I don't know. All night, maybe." "In the storm." Chief Okonkwo's jaw tightened. "Put her in my vehicle. I'm taking them to Lakeview Hospital. Dr. Adelik owes me favors. He'll see them immediately." "But Chief, your schedule," one of his aides protested. "Now," Chief Okonkwo commanded, and the aide fell silent. Within minutes, Chioma and Amara were settled in the back of Chief Okonkwo's SUV, the leather seats too fine for their soaked bodies. A blanket materialized. Soft. Expensive. The chief himself sat beside them, his driver racing toward Lakeview Hospital in Ikoyi. Chioma drifted in and out of consciousness. She heard voices. Urgent. Commanding. Felt warmth returning slowly to her body. Heard Amara crying. Crying meant alive. Crying meant breathing. "Stay with me," a male voice said. Not Emeka's voice. Someone older. Calmer. "You're going to be fine. Both of you." "My baby," Chioma managed. "Your baby is strong. Like her mother, I think." Chioma wanted to laugh at that. Strong? But darkness pulled her under again. She woke in a hospital room flooded with morning light. Clean white sheets. The smell of antiseptic. The gentle beep of monitors. For a moment, she thought she'd dreamed everything. The storm, the expulsion, the church gate. But then she looked down at her bandaged arms and knew it was real. "Amara." She tried to sit up, panic flooding her system. "Where's my?" "She's right here." A nurse appeared with a bundled baby, warm and clean and sleeping peacefully. "Your daughter is fine, Mrs." The nurse paused, realizing she didn't have a name. "Chioma," she whispered, taking Amara with trembling hands. "Just Chioma." The baby was pink and healthy, her tiny chest rising and falling steadily. Chioma burst into tears, relief, gratitude, exhaustion all pouring out at once. "You've been asleep for 6 hours," the nurse explained gently. "Dr. Adele Eek treated you both for mild hypothermia and dehydration. The baby needed warming, but she's perfectly healthy. You both are. It's a miracle." "How did I who brought?" "Chief Okonkwo," the nurse said, her voice respectful. "He's been here all morning, making sure you received the best care. He's paid for everything. The private room, the pediatric consultation, everything. He's waiting outside to speak with you." Chioma's stomach dropped. Chief Okonkwo. She knew that name. Everyone in Lagos knew that name. One of the richest men in Nigeria, with business interests in oil, real estate, and telecommunications. A man of influence, power, connections. A man who would ask questions she didn't want to answer. "I don't have money to pay him back," Chioma said desperately. "I can't." "He doesn't want payment." The nurse smiled. "He just wants to talk to you." "Should I send him in?" Chioma wanted to say no. She wanted to grab Amara and run. Run where she didn't know, but run anyway. But she had no clothes except a hospital gown, no shoes, no money, and nowhere to go. "Yes," she whispered. The nurse left. Moments later, Chief Okonkwo entered. He was even more imposing in person. Tall, broad-shouldered, with silver-threaded hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore a simple kaftan now, having changed from his agbada. "Chioma," he said, and something in his voice made her look up sharply. He knew her name, but she hadn't given it to anyone except the nurse just now. "How do you know?" "I know many things." He pulled a chair close to her bed and sat down, his movements deliberate. "I know that last night, you were thrown out of your home in Victoria Island during the storm. I know that your husband is Emeka Okafor, managing director of Okafor Enterprises. I know that someone exposed your past on social media, and that your mother-in-law convinced your husband to cast you out." Chioma's hands tightened on Amara. "Who are you? Why do you?" "I made phone calls," Chief Okonkwo said simply. "This morning, after I saw you at the church. I wanted to know who you were, why you were there." He paused. "But I also know something else. Something Emeka Okafor doesn't know." Chioma's heart hammered. "What?" "I know that 7 years ago, a 16-year-old girl named Adiz escaped from a brothel in Onitsha. I know she changed her name to Chioma. I know she worked as a housemaid for 3 years while attending night school. I know she earned a certificate in catering and hospitality. I know she met Emeka Okafor at a wedding where she was working as a caterer's assistant." He leaned forward. "I know she never told him about her past because she was ashamed. Because she wanted to protect him from judgment. Because she loved him." Tears streamed down Chioma's face. "How do you know all this?" "Because," Chief Okonkwo said softly, "I've been looking for you for 7 years." The room seemed to tilt. Chioma clutched Amara tighter. "What?" "The brothel in Onitsha, the one you escaped from, was owned by a man named Chidi Okoro. A very bad man. 3 months after you disappeared, police raided that brothel. They found 12 girls, all underage, all trafficked. The raid was based on an anonymous tip." He paused. That tip came from a phone call made from a payphone near the motor park. A young girl's voice, shaking but determined, telling the police exactly where to find evidence. Chioma's breath caught. She remembered that call, made in the terrified minutes after she'd fled, hoping the police would save the other girls even if they couldn't save her. "That raid saved lives," Chief Okonkwo continued. "It destroyed a trafficking ring. But by the time police arrived, the girl who made the call was gone. Lost in Lagos. The detective handling the case, my nephew, he never forgot her." "Neither did I." "Why would you care?" Chioma whispered. Chief Okonkwo's eyes glistened. "Because one of the girls rescued that night was my sister's daughter. My niece, Ebel. She was 13 years old. Trafficked from our village and sold to that brothel." His voice broke slightly. "Your phone call saved her life. It saved 12 lives. And I've been trying to find you ever since, to thank you, to help you too." He stopped, overcome with emotion. Chioma couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. 7 years of running, hiding, being ashamed, and all along, someone had been looking for her. Not to punish her. To thank her. "I never knew," she finally managed. "I never thought. I was just so scared." "You were brave," Chief Okonkwo said firmly. "Braver than most adults. You saved those girls, and then you saved yourself. You built a new life. You did nothing to be ashamed of." "Emeka doesn't see it that way." "Emeka Okafor is a fool," the chief said bluntly. "And his mother is a venomous snake. But that is not your concern anymore." "What do you mean?" Chief Okonkwo stood. "I mean that starting today, you are under my protection. You and your daughter. I owe you a debt that can never be fully repaid, but I will spend the rest of my life trying." He pulled an envelope from his pocket. "Here is 500,000 naira for immediate expenses. My driver will take you wherever you wish to go. If you need housing, I own several properties. If you need work, I will arrange it. If you need anything at all, you call me." He placed his business card on the bedside table. Chioma stared at the envelope, at the card, at this man who was offering her a lifeline when she'd thought she was drowning. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do all this?" "Because," Chief Okonkwo said gently, 7 years ago, you gave me my niece back. You gave 12 families their daughters back. You stopped a monster. And you asked for nothing in return. He smiled. Now it's my turn to give. And unlike you, I have the resources to do it properly. He moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. The DNA test Emeka wants to do? We'll do it. Not because anyone doubts that child is his, but because when it proves she is, and it will, he'll have to live with the knowledge that he threw his own daughter into a storm. That kind of guilt destroys men like him. The door closed softly behind him. Chioma sat alone with Amara, the morning sun streaming through the window, and for the first time in 7 years, she felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who loves emotional drama. What do you think Emeka will do when he finds out about Chief Okonkwo? Comment below. 3 weeks later, Chioma stood in front of a mirror in a furnished 2-bedroom apartment in Yaba, hardly recognizing the woman staring back at her. Gone was the desperate, broken woman from the storm. In her place stood someone stronger, better dressed, with clear eyes and steady hands. Chief Okonkwo had kept every promise. The apartment, modern and secure. A monthly stipend until she found work. Childcare assistance from a trusted nanny named Auntie Patience, who came recommended by the chief's own household. Even a new phone, with his number saved as Guardian Angel. But the greatest gift had been time. Time to heal, to think, to plan. Amara cooed from her crib, now a healthy, thriving 4-month-old. The DNA test results had arrived yesterday, delivered by courier. Chioma hadn't opened the envelope. She didn't need to. She knew whose daughter Amara was. The question was whether Emeka deserved to know. Her new phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Your husband is asking about you. Be careful. Colonel. The security guard from her old building. She'd sent him 20,000 naira as thanks for the broken umbrella, and he'd become an unexpected ally, feeding her information about Emeka's increasingly erratic behavior. According to Colonel's texts, Emeka had been spiraling. The social media post about Chioma's past had backfired spectacularly. Instead of sympathy, he'd received judgment. How could a Christian man throw his wife and baby into a storm? What kind of husband doesn't protect his family? The Okafor family name, so carefully cultivated, was now tainted. Chioma's phone buzzed again. This time, it was Chief Okonkwo. Can you meet at my office at 2 p.m.? There's someone I want you to see. She texted back her agreement, then dressed carefully in one of the modest but elegant outfits the chief had arranged for her. Professional. Dignified. Not the broken woman from the storm, and not the trying too hard wife who'd worn designer labels to prove she belonged. Just herself. Chief Okonkwo's office was in the prestigious Civic Towers in Victoria Island, the same neighborhood Chioma had fled from 3 weeks ago. His receptionist, a poised young woman named Kemi, greeted her warmly and ushered her into a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Lagos Lagoon. Chioma. Chief Okonkwo entered with his arms spread wide, his smile genuine. Behind him came a young woman in her 20s, beautiful and radiant, wearing traditional Igbo attire. I want you to meet someone very special. This is Ebel. My niece. The girl from the brothel. 7 years older now, but alive. Whole. Chioma's eyes filled with tears. Ebel. It's you, Ebel whispered, rushing forward. It's really you. The girl who called the police. The one who saved us. They embraced, 2 survivors, 2 women who'd escaped darkness and found light. Ebel was crying, Chioma was crying. Even Chief Okonkwo had to wipe his eyes. I'm studying law now, Ebel said, pulling back to look at Chioma properly. At the University of Lagos. Uncle Adewale sponsored my education. I want to prosecute traffickers, help other girls like us. And I've wanted to meet you for so long to thank you. You don't need to thank me, Chioma said. You survived. That's enough. But you saved me first. Ebel gripped her hands. And now Uncle says someone tried to destroy you. That your husband. Her eyes flashed with anger. I want to help. Tell me what you need. Chief Okonkwo cleared his throat. Actually, that's why I asked you both here. Chioma, I have a proposal. Several of my companies need communications coordinators. People who can manage social media, respond to crises, handle public relations. You have personal experience with how devastating online exposure can be. I think you'd be perfect for the role. Chioma blinked. Chief, I only have a certificate in catering and you're intelligent, resilient, and understand human nature better than most MBA graduates I've met, he interrupted. Plus, we'll provide training. The position comes with a salary of 350,000 naira per month, health insurance for you and Amara, and career advancement opportunities. The number made Chioma's head spin. More than Emeka had ever given her as allowance. Enough to truly stand on her own. There's also, Chief Okonkwo continued, the matter of the DNA test. I assume you've received the results. Chioma nodded, pulling the sealed envelope from her bag. Would you like me to have my lawyer deliver them to your husband? The chief asked carefully. With a message? Chioma thought about it. Thought about Emeka in that storm, his face twisted with disgust. Thought about Mom Ngozi calling her daughter a bastard. Thought about all the ways they'd tried to erase her worth. No, she said finally. I'll deliver them myself. Ebel's eyes widened. Are you sure that's safe? What if? I need him to see my face, Chioma said quietly. I need him to know that he didn't break me. That I'm not the same woman he threw away. She looked at Chief Okonkwo. But I'd like your lawyer present. As a witness. The chief smiled slowly. I'll do you one better. I'll come myself. 2 days later, a convoy pulled up outside the Okafor Enterprises building in Victoria Island. Chief Okonkwo stepped out first, followed by his lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Barrister Nwankwo. And then Chioma emerged, wearing a navy business suit, her hair professionally styled, every inch the successful woman she was becoming. Emeka's secretary tried to stop them. Mr. Okafor is in a meeting. Cancel it, Chief Okonkwo said mildly. Tell him Chief Adewale Okonkwo is here. He'll see us. The secretary's face went pale. Within minutes, they were ushered into Emeka's office. Emeka sat behind his desk, looking haggard. The 3 weeks had aged him. Dark circles under his eyes, his suit wrinkled, his usual confidence shaken. When he saw Chioma, he stood abruptly, knocking over a pen holder. Chioma. His voice cracked. What? What are you doing here? And Chief Okonkwo, I don't understand. Sit down, Mr. Okafor, the chief commanded, his voice brooking no argument. Emeka sat. Chioma stepped forward and placed the DNA test envelope on his desk. You wanted proof, she said, her voice steady. Here it is. Emeka's hands shook as he opened the envelope. He read the results once, twice, 3 times. The paper fluttered to the desk. Probability of paternity. 99.99%. Amara Okafor is the biological daughter of Emeka Chukwudi Okafor. She's mine, he whispered. I threw my own daughter into a storm. Yes, Chioma said simply. You did. I was angry, I was hurt, my mother said. He looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. Chioma, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Come home. We can fix this. I'll tell everyone you were right, that I was wrong, that. No, Chioma said. The word hung in the air like a verdict. What? Emeka stood again. Chioma, I'm apologizing. I'm your husband. You have to. I don't have to do anything, Chioma interrupted. I am not your wife anymore. Not in any way that matters. But we're married. In the church. Before God. You voided that marriage when you threw me out, Barrister Nwankwo interjected smoothly. My client has grounds for divorce based on abandonment, emotional cruelty, and endangerment of a minor. We're prepared to file unless you agree to our terms. Emeka's face went from red to white. Terms. Chioma pulled a document from her bag. You will pay 200,000 naira monthly in child support for Amara. You will sign over the joint savings account to my name. Money I earned working alongside you in this business. Money that's rightfully mine. You will provide health insurance for your daughter. And you will never, ever disparage me publicly or privately again. And if I refuse? Emeka's voice was desperate now. Chief Okonkwo stood, his presence filling the room. If you refuse, Mr. Okafor, I will personally ensure that every business contact you have knows exactly what kind of man you are. I will make certain that no bank in Lagos extends you credit. I will have friends in high places ask uncomfortable questions about your business practices. He smiled without warmth. I am a patient man, Mr. Okafor, but I pay my debts. And I owe Chioma everything. This is blackmail. This is justice, the chief corrected. You have 24 hours to decide. Sign the agreement, or face the consequences. Your choice. They turned to leave. Chioma was almost at the door when Emeka called out, "My mother, she pushed me, she made me think." Chioma looked back one last time. Your mother is a grown woman, Emeka. But so are you. You made your choice that night. Now I'm making mine. Outside, in the sunlight, Chioma took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking, but she felt lighter than she had in years. You did well, Chief Okonkwo said proudly. Very well. Thank you, Chioma whispered. For everything. It's just beginning, he promised. Your new life. It's just beginning. But as they drove away, none of them noticed the figure watching from across the street. Mama Ngozi Okafor stood in the shadows, her phone pressed to her ear, her face twisted with rage. I don't care what it costs, she hissed to whoever was on the other end. I want that girl destroyed. Completely destroyed. Find something, anything. If she has a past, she has enemies. Find them. The person on the phone replied, and Mama Ngozi smiled coldly. Good. Very good. Let's see how powerful Chief Okonkwo is when the truth comes out. Chioma's first month at Okonkwo Enterprises was a whirlwind of learning, adapting, and discovering talent she didn't know she possessed. She had a natural gift for reading people, for understanding what they needed to hear and how to say it. Her social media campaigns were empathetic and engaging. Her crisis management proposals were creative and effective. Chief Okonkwo's staff, initially skeptical of the charity case the boss had hired, slowly came to respect her. Even Kemi, the receptionist who'd been cold at first, now invited her to lunch regularly. You're good at this, Kemi said over jollof rice at a restaurant near the office. Really good. I thought Uncle Adewale was just being nice, but you actually have skills. Uncle Adewale? Chioma raised an eyebrow. Kemi laughed. Didn't you know? I'm his niece. His younger brother's daughter. Half the people in that office are family somehow. That's how Uncle operates. He takes care of his own. She paused. And apparently you're family now. The word made Chioma's chest tight. Family. She hadn't had one of those in so long. Speaking of family, Kemi continued, there's someone Uncle wants you to meet. His sister. Auntie Yatund. She's hosting a dinner party this Saturday at her house in Lekki. Some society thing, you know how it is. Lots of important people. Uncle specifically requested you attend. Chioma's stomach dropped. A society party? Kemi, I'm not ready for that. Those people, they know who I am, what I was. They know what someone claimed you were, Kemi corrected firmly. There's a difference. Besides, Uncle doesn't make casual requests. If he wants you there, there's a reason. Chioma spent the next 3 days anxious about the party. What if someone recognized her? What if the old photos circulated again? What if? Stop worrying, Auntie Patience scolded as she helped Chioma prepare on Saturday evening. The older woman had become more than a nanny. She was a confidant, a surrogate mother. You are not that frightened girl anymore. You are Chioma Okafor, a successful professional woman with a powerful protector. Hold your head high. The dress Chief Okonkwo had sent over was stunning. A deep green Ankara gown with gold accents, traditional yet modern. Chioma barely recognized herself in the mirror. The party at Auntie Yatund's mansion was everything Chioma had feared and more. Beautiful people in expensive clothes, discussing business deals and politics over champagne and canapes. She clutched her small handbag, containing nothing but her phone, lipstick, and a photo of Amara for courage, and tried to look confident. Chioma! Chief Okonkwo appeared at her elbow, resplendent in an agbada. Come, there are people you should meet. He introduced her to politicians, business owners, society women, all treating her with respect because the chief had claimed her as his protégé. Chioma smiled, made small talk, and tried not to feel like an imposter. Then she saw her. Mama Ngozi Okafor, dressed in an elaborate wrapper and geli, holding court with a group of women across the room. Their eyes met, and Mama Ngozi's expression turned venomous. Chief Okonkwo, Mama Ngozi called out loudly, drawing attention. I didn't expect to see you entertaining such interesting guests. The room quieted. Conversations paused mid-sentence. "Mama Ngozi," the chief replied coolly. "I didn't realize you'd been invited." "I'm Auntie Yatun's friend from church," Mama Ngozi said, moving closer. "We pray together every week. Share everything." Her eyes fixed on Chioma, including concerns about certain undesirable elements in our society. Chioma's heart hammered, but Chief Okonkwo stepped protectively in front of her. "If you have something to say it plainly." "Very well." Mama Ngozi's smile was poisonous. "Everyone here should know that this woman," she pointed at Chioma, "is not who she pretends to be. She's a former prostitute who trapped my son with pregnancy, who lied about her past, who—" "That's enough," Chief Okonkwo's voice cut like a blade. "Is it?" Mama Ngozi pulled out her phone. "Because I've done research. I know everything about her. I know about the brothel in Onitsha. I know about the men. I even know," she swiped through her phone triumphantly, "about this." She held up the phone, showing an old photo. Chioma's blood ran cold. It was her, at 16, in the brothel. But she wasn't alone. She was with a man, a prominent Lagos pastor whose face was clearly visible. "Pastor Joshua," someone in the crowd gasped. "That's Pastor Joshua from Salvation Mega Church." The room erupted. Pastor Joshua was married, influential, known for his anti-prostitution crusades. If this photo was real, if people believed he'd been with an underage girl, this proves what kind of company this woman kept, Mama Ngozi declared. This proves she's not fit to work for reputable people, to be around decent society. This proves, a new voice rang out, that you're a blackmailer and a liar. Everyone turned. Ebel stood at the entrance, her phone held high, her face fierce. Behind her was a middle-aged woman Chioma didn't recognize, until Chief Okonkwo whispered, "Detective Emeka Okafor. My nephew's partner. The one who raided the brothel." "That photo," Ebel continued, walking into the room with Detective Emeka beside her, "has been doctored. The original exists in police evidence files from the 2018 raid on the Onitsha trafficking operation. The man in the actual photo is Chidi Okoro, the brothel owner, who is currently serving 15 years in Kirikiri Maximum Security Prison. Someone photoshopped Pastor Joshua's face onto his body." She turned to Mama Ngozi. "Someone who paid 150,000 naira to a graphic designer in Computer Village. Someone whose bank transfer I'm holding evidence of right now, thanks to Detective Nkechi's investigation." Mama Ngozi's face went ashen. That's not, you can't prove." "We can prove everything," Detective Nkechi said calmly, holding up her police badge. "Including your attempts to hire a private investigator to fabricate evidence against Mrs. Chioma. Including your plans to distribute this fake photo to media outlets. Including your conspiracy to defame and damage reputation for the purpose of revenge." She pulled out handcuffs. "Mama Ngozi Okafor, you're under arrest." The room exploded into chaos. Guests shouted questions, phones came out to record, and Mama Ngozi screamed her innocence even as Detective Nkechi cuffed her wrists. "My son! Call my son! Emeka, help me!" But Emeka wasn't there. He declined the invitation, too ashamed to face society. Chief Okonkwo placed a steady hand on Chioma's shoulder as they led Mama Ngozi away. "It's over," he murmured. "She can't hurt you anymore." But Chioma wasn't looking at Mama Ngozi. She was looking at the crowd, at the faces of Lagos's elite, expecting judgment, expecting disgust. Instead, she saw something else. "The police raid," a woman said thoughtfully. "That was the one that rescued those 12 girls? I remember reading about it." "The girl who called in the tip," another man added. "They never identified her." "She was a hero." A 16-year-old, an older woman murmured. "Trafficked, enslaved, and still brave enough to save others. That takes courage most adults don't have." And then, impossibly, someone started clapping. It was Auntie Yatund, Chief Okonkwo's sister. She walked across the room, her gown swishing, and took Chioma's hands in hers. "My dear," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "you are welcome in my home any time. Anyone who says otherwise can see themselves out." More applause. Not universal. Some guests still looked uncomfortable, skeptical, but enough. Enough to show that the narrative had shifted. Chioma wasn't the villain. She never had been. Hours later, after the party had dispersed and statements had been given to Detective Nkechi, Chioma sat in Chief Okonkwo's car, emotionally exhausted. "How did you know?" she asked. "About Mom Ngozi's plan?" "Colonel," the chief said simply. "Your security guard friend." He heard her making phone calls in the building lobby, recognized some names, and contacted my office. "We've had her under surveillance for 2 weeks." "All of this," ebelled the detective, "the evidence. You arranged it?" "I told you," Chief Okonkwo said gently. "I pay my debts. And no one threatens my family without consequences." Family. There was that word again. But as they drove through the Lagos night, neither of them saw the car following at a distance. Or the figure inside, reviewing photos from the party with a calculating expression. Emeka Okafor had stayed away from the event, yes. But he'd sent someone in his place. Someone who'd taken careful notes about who defended Chioma, who supported her, who stood by Chief Okonkwo's side. And most importantly, someone who'd noticed the way the chief looked at Chioma. Protective, proud, almost paternal. Emeka's hands clenched on the steering wheel. His wife was thriving without him. His mother was in police custody. His reputation was in tatters. And meanwhile, Chioma had found a new life, a new family, a new protector. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Father Benedict," he said when the priest answered. "It's Emeka Okafor." "Yes, I know it's late. But I need to discuss something important. About my marriage. About my rights as a husband." He paused. "And about how the church views women who abandon their sacred vows." The priest murmured something cautionary, but Emeka interrupted. "I don't care if she filed for divorce. In the eyes of God, she's still my wife. And I have rights. Rights I intend to exercise." He ended the call and stared at Chioma's apartment building in the distance, his expression dark with renewed determination. "You think you've won," he whispered. "But this isn't over. Not by a long way." Sunday morning dawned bright and clear over Lagos. Chioma woke to Amara's cheerful babbling and felt, for the first time in months, genuinely peaceful. Yesterday's confrontation at the party had been terrifying, but she'd survived it. More than survived, she'd been defended, supported, even celebrated. Auntie Patience arrived early, as usual, her presence a comforting constant in Chioma's new life. "Morning, my dear," she greeted warmly, scooping up Amara for cuddles. "You're glowing today. That party was good for you, eh?" "It was better than I expected," Chioma admitted, moving to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. "I thought people would judge me, but most didn't. Or if they did, they kept it to themselves." "People respect strength," Auntie Patience said wisely. "And Chief Okonkwo's endorsement carries weight. You have nothing to fear anymore." But Chioma's phone buzzed with a message that made her stomach drop. It was from Kemi. "Emergency. Don't go to church this morning. We'll explain later. Trust me on this." Chioma frowned. She'd been attending a small progressive church in Yaba. Nothing like the massive charismatic megachurch where she'd worshipped with Emeka. Going to church had become part of her healing routine. She called Kemi immediately. "What's wrong? What happened?" "Father Benedict from your old church, the one where you and Emeka got married, he's been calling around," Kemi said urgently. "Asking questions about you. About whether you're attending any churches. Uncle thinks Emeka is planning something." "Planning what?" "We don't know. But Uncle says to stay home today. Let him handle it." Chioma hung up feeling uneasy. She trusted Chief Okonkwo, but the idea of Emeka scheming made her skin crawl. What could he possibly do now? His mother was in custody, the DNA results proved Amara was his daughter, and the divorce papers were being processed. She tried to distract herself with Amara, with housework, with anything. But by noon, her anxiety was overwhelming. Then her doorbell rang. Through the peephole, she saw 2 women in church uniforms, the distinctive blue and white of Victory Pentecostal Church, Emeka's church. Her pulse quickened. "Who is it?" she called through the door. "We're from Victory Pentecostal," one woman answered. "The women's ministry. We've come to pray with you." "I didn't request prayer." "Your husband did," the second woman said. "Please, Sister. We're here in love. Open the door. Chioma's hand hovered over the lock. Something felt wrong. But these were church women. Surely they couldn't mean harm? She opened the door a crack. I appreciate the gesture, but this isn't a good time. The door burst open. 5 women pushed their way inside. Not just the 2 she'd seen but 3 more who'd been standing to the side. They weren't violent, but they were insistent, filling her small living room with their presence and their voices. Sister Chioma, the apparent leader said, a middle-aged woman named Sister Ruth. We've come because your husband is concerned about your soul. About your rebellion against godly authority. My rebellion? Chioma's voice rose. He threw me and my baby into a storm. He disciplined you, another woman corrected. As is his right as the head of the household. The Bible says wives should submit to their husbands. The Bible also says husbands should love their wives as Christ loved the church, Chioma shot back. Not abandon them in danger. You deceived him, Sister Ruth said firmly. You hid your sinful past. You trapped him with pregnancy. These are serious sins, sister. And now you're refusing reconciliation, refusing to honor your marriage vows. I have grounds for divorce. There's no biblical divorce for what you're claiming, Sister Ruth interrupted. Pastor Benedict has reviewed your case. You were not physically abused. You committed the first sin by lying. Therefore, you must repent and return to your husband. Chioma felt like she was suffocating. These women, with their stern faces and scripture quotes, represented everything she'd feared about judgment. I'm not going back to him. Ever. Then you're living in rebellion, Sister Ruth declared. And we cannot, in good conscience, allow you to continue leading yourself and your daughter into sin. One of the women moved toward the nursery where Amara was sleeping. Chioma's blood turned to ice. Don't touch my daughter. She lunged forward, blocking the doorway. We're not going to hurt her, the woman said soothingly. But she needs to be with her father. Her legitimate household. You're unfit. The apartment door crashed open. Chief Okonkwo strode in, flanked by Barrister Nwankwo and 2 uniformed police officers. His face was thunderous. Out, he commanded. All of you. Now. Sister Ruth drew herself up indignantly. We are here on a spiritual mission. You're here on a mission of harassment and potential kidnapping, Barrister Nwankwo interrupted coldly. And unless you leave immediately, these officers will arrest you for trespassing, intimidation, and attempted child abduction. Abduction? We would never. You attempted to enter the nursery to take the child to her father, the barrister quoted. That is attempted abduction. Mrs. Chioma has full legal custody pending divorce proceedings. You have no authority here. The church women exchanged uncertain looks. Clearly, whatever Emeka had told them, it hadn't included the possibility of arrest. We were just trying to help, one woman mumbled. Help by leaving, Chief Okonkwo said flatly. And tell Emeka Okafor that if he sends anyone else to harass Chioma, I will personally ensure he faces criminal charges. Go. They fled, their righteous indignation deflating in the face of legal consequences. The door closed behind them, and Chioma collapsed onto her couch, shaking. How did you know? We've had someone watching your building since yesterday, Chief Okonkwo admitted. After the party, I suspected Emeka might retaliate. When those women arrived, my security called me immediately. He sat beside her, his expression gentler. Chioma, I need you to understand something. Emeka is desperate. His reputation is destroyed, his mother is in custody, and you're thriving without him. Desperate men do dangerous things. What more can he do? Chioma whispered. He's tried everything. Not everything. The chief's jaw tightened. He hasn't tried the one thing that might actually work. What? Before he could answer, Chioma's phone rang. An unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello. Chioma. It was Emeka, his voice ragged. Please. I'm begging you. Let me see my daughter. Chioma's heart hammered. You have visitation rights in the agreement. Once a month, supervised. I don't want supervision. I want my family back. I want you back. He was crying now, genuine sobs. I've lost everything, Chioma. My mother's in jail, my church has turned on me. My business is suffering because people think I'm a monster. But I can fix it. We can fix it. If you just come home. No. I'll do anything. His voice rose desperately. I'll apologize publicly. I'll tell everyone I was wrong. I'll go to counseling. I'll convert Chief Okonkwo's money into our joint account. We can live better than before. Stop. Chioma's voice was steady despite her trembling hands. You can't bribe me. You can't manipulate me. And you certainly can't buy me. I'm not coming back because I'm not that woman anymore. The woman who needed your approval, your money, your name. She died in that storm. This is who I am now. And I like her. Silence on the line. Then Emeka's voice, cold and venomous. You'll regret this. I promise you, Chioma. You'll regret choosing that old man over your own husband. Chief Okonkwo is not. But Emeka had hung up. Chioma looked at Chief Okonkwo, whose face had gone very still. What did he mean by that? He means, the chief said slowly, that he's going to spread a new lie. That you left him for me. That we're having an affair. That I'm using my wealth and power to steal another man's wife. Barrister Nwankwo cursed softly. That's actually clever. It attacks both your reputations simultaneously. Will people believe it? Chioma asked, horror rising in her chest. Some will, the chief admitted. Especially those who want to believe it. The ones who think there's no other reason a wealthy man would help a woman in need except sexual interest. He looked at Chioma steadily. This is the moment where I ask you. Is my protection worth this cost? Because if he spreads these rumors, your life will become even more difficult. People will talk. Some of the respect you gained last night will evaporate. And my own reputation. Well, I've weathered worse, but it won't be pleasant. Chioma thought about it. Thought about going back to Emeka to make the rumors stop. Thought about disappearing somewhere else, starting over again without the chief's help. But then she thought about Amara. About the job she was good at. About Ebel and Auntie Patience and Kemi, and all the people who'd shown her that family wasn't just blood, it was choice. I'm not leaving, she said firmly. And I'm not going back. If people want to lie about us, let them. We know the truth. Chief Okonkwo smiled, his eyes warm with respect. Then we face this together. As family. As family, Chioma echoed. But that night, as she lay in bed with Amara sleeping beside her, Chioma couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. Emeka had lost everything, and men with nothing to lose were the most dangerous. She was right. The next morning, every major blog in Lagos carried the same story. Billionaire Chief Okonkwo in affair scandal. Did he steal Emeka Okafor's wife? The articles were full of speculation, carefully worded to avoid libel but dripping with insinuation. Photos from the party. Chief Okonkwo's hand on Chioma's shoulder, their heads bent close in conversation, were presented as evidence. The comments were brutal. She went from prostitute to baby mama to rich man's side chick. Not progression. These Lagos girls no get shame. Use juju catch one man, when tire move to richer man. Chief Okonkwo should know better. This one go spoil him finish. But there were other voices too. Wetin concern una? The man threw her and baby into storm. She fit move on. Chief Okonkwo is known for helping people. Why una assume say na sex? The woman fine, she fit attract anybody. No mean say na runs. Chioma read them all, her stomach churning. But it was the last notification that made her gasp. A new post, from an account called Lagos Truth Teller. Proof, Chioma and Chief Okonkwo's secret meetings before she left her husband. The attached photos were grainy but clear. Chioma entering the Civic Towers building. Chioma leaving Chief Okonkwo's office. The timestamps were wrong, edited to make it look like she'd been seeing him for months before the storm. Someone had fabricated a timeline. Someone had created an entire false narrative. And Lagos, hungry for scandal, was eating it up. Is this the end for Chioma's redemption? How will she and Chief Okonkwo fight back? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed for more stories. The fabricated photos went viral within hours. By midday, Chioma's phone was flooded with messages. Some supportive, many accusatory, all demanding explanations. She turned it off and sat in her apartment, feeling the walls close in. This was different from before. When her past had been exposed, at least it was true. She had been trafficked, she had worked in that brothel, however unwillingly. But this? This was a complete lie. And somehow, the lies felt more suffocating than the truth ever had. Auntie Patience sat beside her, holding Amara. "That man is evil," she declared. "Pure evil. To do this to the mother of his child. It's not just him." Chioma's voice was hollow. He couldn't have gotten those photos, edited them, posted them without help. Someone is helping him. Her burner phone, the one only Chief Okonkwo, Kemi, and a few trusted people knew about, buzzed. A message from Kunnel, the security guard. "Madam, I need to tell you something. It's about who's helping Oga Emeka. But not on phone. Can we meet?" Chioma's hands shook as she typed back her agreement to meet at a public place, the cafe near her old church in Yaba. An hour later, dressed simply and wearing dark sunglasses, Chioma slipped into the crowded cafe. Kunnel sat in the corner, looking nervous. He stood when he saw her, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by anxiety. "Madam, I no sure say I suppose day here," he said quietly. "But my conscience no gree me keep quiet." "What do you know, Kunnel?" He pulled out his phone and showed her photos he'd secretly taken. The first showed Emeka in the parking garage of the Victoria Island building, talking to a woman. Chioma's blood ran cold when she recognized who it was. "Kemi." "No," Chioma whispered. "That's not, she wouldn't." "I sorry, madam," Kunnel said miserably. "But I been day see them together plenty times. Last week SEF, she come give 'em folder. Thick folder with plenty paper. The same day those blog posts drop." Chioma's mind raced. Kemi, who'd befriended her. Kemi, who knew her schedule, her movements, her vulnerabilities. Kemi, who was Chief Okonkwo's niece and had access to everything in his office. Why would she help Emeka? Chioma asked, though part of her already suspected. "Money," Kunnel said bluntly. "I hear him on phone one time. She day talk about payment, about account. Madam, that girl no loyal. Not only money she sobby." Chioma felt sick. She'd trusted Kemi. They'd shared lunches, confidences, laughter. And all along, Kemi had been feeding information to Emeka, helping him craft his revenge. "Does Chief Okonkwo know?" "I no think so. But madam, you need tell him quick. Before she do more damage." Chioma thanked Kunnel and transferred 50,000 naira to his account. Money she could ill afford, but loyalty deserved reward. Then she called Chief Okonkwo's private line. "Chioma? Are you all right?" "No. We need to meet. Immediately. And don't tell Kemi." 2 hours later, Chioma sat in Chief Okonkwo's home office in Lekki. Not his corporate office where Kemi had access. Barrister Nwankwo was there, along with Ebel and Detective Nkechi, who'd become invested in Chioma's case. When Chioma showed them Kunnel's photos and explained what she'd learned, Chief Okonkwo's face went through a series of emotions. Shock, denial, and finally, cold fury. "Kemi," he said softly. "My own brother's daughter. I gave her a job when no one else would hire her. I trusted her." "Family betrayal is the deepest cut," Detective Nkechi said pragmatically. "But it also gives us leverage. If she's been taking money to commit fraud and defamation, we can arrest her. Make her talk. Find out exactly what she and Emeka planned." "Do it," Chief Okonkwo commanded. "Tonight." But Ebel held up her hand. "Wait. If we arrest her now, Emeka will know we're on to him. He'll lawyer up, destroy evidence. I have a better idea." She looked at Chioma. "What if we feed Kemi false information? Make her think we're about to do something desperate, something Emeka can use against us." "A trap," Barrister Nwankwo said slowly. "I like it." They spent the next hour crafting their strategy. Chioma would call Kemi, seeming upset and impulsive, and say she was planning to hold a press conference to deny the affair rumors. She'd mentioned that Chief Okonkwo had advised against it, but she was doing it anyway. Tomorrow at noon at the Civic Tower's lobby. "Emeka will see that as an opportunity," Ebel predicted. "He'll show up to confront you publicly. Create a scene. Maybe even try to take Amara, claiming you're unstable. And we'll be ready," Detective Nkechi added. "With cameras, witnesses, and evidence of his harassment campaign. We'll turn his ambush into his downfall. It was risky. But Chioma was tired of being hunted. It was time to become the hunter. She made the call to Kemi, her voice perfectly calibrated. Shaky, desperate, impulsive. Kemi took the bait beautifully, her fake concern dripping through the phone as she promised to try to talk Chief Okonkwo into supporting the press conference. She'll tell Emeka within the hour, Chief Okonkwo predicted after Chioma hung up. And he was right. The next day at 11:45 a.m., the lobby of Civic Towers was unusually crowded. Journalists, curious employees, random spectators, all gathered for what social media had hyped as Chioma's confession. What they didn't know was that half the journalists were actually Chief Okonkwo security personnel, and several spectators were plainclothes police officers. Chioma stood near the makeshift podium, wearing a simple blue dress, her natural hair styled elegantly. She held Amara in her arms. A deliberate choice. Let people see the baby Emeka had thrown into a storm. At 11:58, Emeka burst through the entrance, flanked by Father Benedict from Victory Pentecostal and 2 church elders. His face was triumphant. He thought he was about to catch Chioma in a public lie. "Stop!" he shouted, striding toward the podium. "Don't let her speak. This woman is a liar, a manipulator." Mr. Okafor, Chief Okonkwo stepped forward, his voice calm but carrying authority. "This is private property. You're trespassing. I'm here to stop my wife from destroying more lives with her lies." Emeka's voice echoed through the lobby. "She's having an affair with you, and everyone knows it. She abandoned her marriage vows, abandoned God's plan." "I abandoned nothing," Chioma said clearly, stepping up to the microphone. "You threw me away, remember? In a storm. With your 3-month-old daughter. Because you lied about who you were." "I survived something horrible and tried to move forward," Chioma countered. "You judged me for my past instead of loving me for who I became. There's a difference." Emeka turned to the crowd. "She's sleeping with Chief Okonkwo. The photos prove it." "The photos prove I entered an office building," Chioma said. "I work there, Emeka. Or did you forget I have a job now? A career? A life that doesn't revolve around your approval." She was seeing him before she left me. Emeka pulled out printed copies of the doctored photos, waving them at the cameras. "Look at the dates. She was cheating." "Those dates are fabricated," Barrister Nwankwo interrupted smoothly, stepping forward with a tablet. "As proven by these official building logs from Civic Towers showing Mrs. Chioma didn't visit until 3 weeks after the storm. The metadata on those photos has been altered. We have forensic evidence." Emeka's face paled. "That's you're lying." "We also have evidence that you paid someone to create those photos," Detective Nkechi added, appearing from the crowd with her badge displayed. "Someone who has been feeding you information, helping you harass your ex-wife, and participating in a criminal conspiracy." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Kemi Okonkwo," the detective said. "Your inside source. Who is currently in custody giving a full statement about how you paid her 2 million naira to sabotage Chioma's reputation and feed you intelligence about Chief Okonkwo's household." The lobby erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Father Benedict took a visible step away from Emeka, his face troubled. "This is a setup." Emeka shouted desperately. "You can't. I'm her husband. I have rights." "You have no rights," Chief Okonkwo said coldly. "You forfeited them when you endangered a child. When you spread lies. When you tried to destroy a woman whose only crime was surviving trauma you couldn't understand." "She was a prostitute," Emeka screamed, his composure finally shattering. "A whore. And you're all defending her because some rich man wants to." "She was a trafficked child," Ebel's voice rang out. She pushed through the crowd, her face fierce. 16 years old. Sold to a brothel. Enslaved. And even in that hell, she was brave enough to call the police and save 12 other girls. Including me. She stood next to Chioma. "I was one of those girls. Chioma saved my life. So yes, I defend her. Because she's a hero, not a whore." The lobby went silent. Even Emeka seemed stunned. Father Benedict cleared his throat awkwardly. "Brother Emeka, if what they're saying is true, if she was trafficked, not a willing participant, then the church's position on her past would be different. Much different." We should discuss this privately. No. Emeka's voice cracked. No, she deceived me. She trapped me. She. He lunged toward Chioma suddenly, reaching for Amara. Give me my daughter. If I can't have you, I'll take her. Security personnel materialized instantly, restraining Emeka before he could touch the baby. Amara started crying, and Chioma held her close, whispering soothing words. Attempted child abduction, Detective Nkechi said, almost bored. In front of witnesses. Mr. Okafor, you're under arrest. As officers cuffed Emeka, his face went from rage to disbelief to, finally, broken despair. He looked at Chioma one last time. I loved you, he whispered. I really did. No, Chioma said sadly. You loved who you thought I was. You never loved me. They led him away. Father Benedict followed, murmuring about bail and church council, but his enthusiasm had clearly waned. The reporters surged forward with questions, but Chief Okonkwo held up his hand. Mrs. Chioma will not be giving interviews. However, I will make one statement on her behalf and mine. He turned to face the cameras directly. 7 years ago, Chioma saved 12 children from sexual trafficking. She risked her life to do so. Since then, she has rebuilt herself through courage, hard work, and resilience. I am honored to know her, to employ her, and to call her family. Anyone who suggests otherwise is welcome to test my resolve in court. He offered Chioma his arm, and together they walked through the crowd. Not running, not hiding, but walking with heads held high. Ebel and Auntie Patience flanked them protectively. By the time they reached Chief Okonkwo's car, Chioma's hands had stopped shaking. It's really over? She asked as they drove away from the chaos. Not quite, Chief Okonkwo admitted. There will be legal proceedings. Emeka might face charges. Kemi certainly will. The gossip will continue for a while. But the worst is over. You've won, Chioma. You stood your ground and you won. Chioma looked down at Amara, who'd stopped crying and was now cooing contentedly. I didn't win alone. No, the chief agreed with a smile. You didn't. That's the point. You built a family, a chosen family, and we chose you back. 3 months later, Chioma sat in a conference room at Okonkwo Enterprises, leading a presentation on their new social media crisis management strategy. Her ideas were sharp, her delivery confident. When she finished, the executives applauded. Excellent work, Chief Okonkwo said from his seat at the head of the table. I'm officially promoting you to Senior Communications Manager. Effective immediately. After the meeting, Chioma walked back to her office, a real office now, with her name on the door, and found Ebel waiting with coffee and pastries. Celebration time, Ebel announced. I heard about the promotion. You deserve it. They sat together, two survivors who'd found each other across 7 years and countless struggles. I'm graduating next year, Ebel shared. With honors, if my thesis goes well. And Uncle Adewale has already promised to fund my master's degree in human rights law. You're going to change the world, Chioma said proudly. We both are, Ebel corrected. Just in different ways. Chioma's phone buzzed. A message from her lawyer. Divorce finalized. Emeka dropped all custody challenges in exchange for reduced charges. You're free. Free. The words settled over her like sunlight. She'd come to Lagos 7 years ago as Adiz, running from darkness. She'd become Chioma, trying to hide from her past. And now? Now she was simply herself, scarred but strong, broken but healing, judged but not defined by that judgment. That evening, she sat in her apartment with Amara, who was now 6 months old and starting to babble real words. The baby reached up and touched Chioma's face, smiling that pure, innocent smile that made everything worthwhile. Mama, Amara said clearly. Chioma's heart swelled. Yes, baby. Mama's here. And Mama's not going anywhere. There was a knock at the door. Chief Okonkwo stood there with a bouquet of flowers. Not romantic, but celebratory. I heard about the divorce. Congratulations. Thank you, Chioma said, accepting the flowers. For everything. I mean it. You gave me my life back. No, Chief Okonkwo corrected gently. You gave yourself your life back. I just provided some resources. The courage, the resilience, the determination, that was all you. He started to leave, then paused. Chioma? I've been thinking. Ebel needs a mentor. Someone who understands what she went through, who can guide her as she navigates this field. Would you consider it? I'd be honored, Chioma said immediately. Good. He smiled. We're building something here, you know. Not just a company but a community. A place where people who've survived the worst can help others do the same. I think you're going to be at the center of that. After he left, Chioma stood at her window, looking out at Lagos, the city that had both broken and remade her. Somewhere out there, other girls were trapped in situations like she'd been. Other women were being judged for pasts they couldn't control. Other survivors were fighting to be seen as human. But they weren't alone. She would make sure of that. Chioma Okafor, once at ease, once a frightened girl in Onitsha, once a woman thrown into a storm, was finally home. Not in a place but in herself. And that was the greatest destiny of all. 1 year later, Chioma stood on a stage at the Lagos Women's Empowerment Conference, addressing a crowd of 200 women. Amara sat contentedly with auntie Patience in the front row, and Chief Okonkwo and Ebel stood at the back, watching with pride. My name is Chioma Okafor, she said clearly into the microphone. And 7 years ago, I was trafficked into a brothel. 5 years ago I escaped. 3 years ago, I married a man who threw me into a storm when he learned about my past. And 1 year ago, I learned that my past doesn't define me. My courage does. She told her story, the whole story, holding nothing back. When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. If you're a survivor, she concluded, know this, you are not your trauma. You are not what was done to you. You are what you choose to become after. And you are never ever alone. The applause was thunderous. Women rushed forward after, sharing their own stories, asking for help, offering support. Chioma listened to each one, held hands, exchanged numbers. This was her destiny, not to be saved, but to save others. Not to be redeemed by someone else's mercy, but to offer redemption through her own experience. That night, as Lagos glittered beneath the stars, Chioma received an unexpected email. It was from Emeka. Chioma. I'm writing this from a rehabilitation center where I'm getting help for anger issues and emotional abuse patterns. My therapist suggested I write to you, not to ask for forgiveness, because I don't deserve it, but to acknowledge the truth. You were right. I never really loved you. I loved the idea of you, the perfect wife who would make me look good. When that image cracked, I couldn't handle it. I'm sorry for what I put you through. I'm sorry I didn't protect our daughter. I'm sorry I let my mother and my pride destroy the one genuine thing in my life. I don't expect you to respond. I just wanted you to know that watching you succeed, seeing you become the woman you are now, it taught me something. Strength isn't about control. It's about resilience. You have that. I never did. Take care of Amara. She has an amazing mother. Emeka. Chioma read it twice, then closed her laptop. She felt no anger, no vindication, just a quiet sadness for the man Emeka could have been if he'd chosen differently. But that wasn't her burden to carry anymore. She walked into Amara's nursery, where her daughter slept peacefully, and whispered a prayer of thanks. For storms that test us, for families that choose us, and for destinies that arrive exactly when we're ready to meet them. The end. Thank you for watching. He threw his wife out in the storm with her baby, but the next morning, her destiny arrived. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Kaysmart's Mythic Tales for more powerful African stories, and share this with someone who needs to hear about redemption and resilience. Comment below. What was your favorite moment from Chioma's journey? Let's keep this conversation going. See you in the next story.